Alright guys, trying one more time. And I'm going to try and break this up into small pieces so that it's not overwhelming. So page 1 of 10.1 notes, starting with the basics of a poorly drawn right triangle. Okay, now I'm sure you guys already know that that's the right angle. But in case you didn't, now you know. Okay, so obviously there's a couple of things that we've got to remember with these types of triangles, other than the fact that we have a right angle. Right triangles typically have their angles with capital letters, and then the sides are always across from the angle, lowercase letters are used. So this just helps keep things organized, straightforward, simple. That's kind of the whole idea here, is that it's supposed to stay organized and simple. Now, you probably already knew this, because guess what? You probably learned this last year. This should be a recap. This should not be anything new to you. Now, what might be new to you is some of the stuff that's coming in the next video. So let's say that I have this angle marked. I'm going to mark it with that. For those of you who are unaware, you may remember this, you may not remember this. It's totally fine if you don't. This is actually a Greek letter. And you get to see my horrible handwriting. This Greek letter is known as theta. Okay, known as theta. This is the variable that we use when we are working with angles. Okay, now that we're moving from the world of algebra and into trigonometry, we need a variable for our angle measures, and theta is the guy. Okay, so it's our variable that we're going to be working with. All right, we're going to use theta to label our sides. Yeah, it's been probably a little while, but you probably remember this. We'll see. If you remember that the side that is opposite your theta is known as the opposite, congratulations. You win a gold medal. Too bad I don't have those. Okay, angle. Sorry, guys, I just find that really funny. Angle B. Did I just say angle B? I meant side B. Struggling here. Side B. Okay, side B, where the little cursor is. This is right next to the angle, so this is the adjacent. I'm going to abbreviate that. Adjacent. Can anybody guess what C is? Pause and guess. If you guessed hypotenuse, you're totally right. It is hypotenuse. Okay, which I'll abbreviate as HYP. Now, we run into a couple of unique cases where we have two of the legs, but we need the third. Okay, you probably will recognize this too, but we have this lovely little theorem known as the Pythagorean Theorem, and that is written as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so once again, a reminder that for this theorem, you probably will need or have two sides. I'm going to change that word need to have. You have two sides and are looking for a third. Looking for a third. Okay. Now, one thing that people do mess up on when they're using the Pythagorean theorem, I'm going to underline my hypotenuse here. Yeah, hypotenuse is always C. So if you're given your hypotenuse value, then it must always go where C is. That is kind of the key that I do want you to take away from all of this. C is the hypotenuse. C is the hypotenuse. For the other two legs, it's not going to really matter if you have two sides already. Okay, it's not really going to matter. You get to pick. Unless there are letters already specifically assigned to your triangle, you can just pick. All right. Let's see if I can get this to scroll down. Yep, there we go. So you probably remember learning about these trig functions very, very quickly. The acronym you're probably all familiar with. Ready? So, okay, you probably don't have it written like this. You might have it written a little differently. It's perfectly fine. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm going to add a new color here. I love my colors. You already know this. For our trig functions, our basic trig functions, sine, cosine, tangent, you can already tell I'm going to make opposite this nice bright pink color. Okay, so we've got opposite. We'll go ahead and do this dark, well, this medium purple for adjacent. I don't even know if you can really tell the difference there, but it's supposed to be slightly different. Adjacent. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and use this beautiful yellow color for the hypotenuse. So we'll always remember that. Hypotenuse, hypotenuse. Okay. Now remember what I said about theta? It's our variable, and we use it mainly for angles. So when we're talking about input-output, our input here is going to be an angle measure. And our output is going to be what's called a ratio of sides. Okay, make sure that you have this stuff written down. This is kind of key because if you know the basics, then the rest of it is going to be very seamless. Okay, we have a lot more content that we're going to cover. I am going to skip through a bunch of different parts, mainly hitting definitions and other important things. So watch for the next video. It's going to have lots of awesomeness.